everyone. So in another video, we've already discussed in great detail what transpiration is and how that occurs. But for this video, since we're going to be talking about the movement of water from xylem vessel, which is going to be found inside the vascular bundle inside the leaves, to the cells of the leaves. We need to go over a little bit of what transpiration is again and how that occurs very quickly, so that we can then understand the transport of water from the xylem vessel in the leaf to the cells of the leaves. And that's actually because it is the process of transpiration which basically pulls the water out from the xylem vessel and pulls it into the cells of the leaves. We know that water basically travels up the root, from the root hair cells into the root, and then moves up the stem and enters the leaves through the leaf stalk, and then over here it is inside the vascular bundle inside the leaf, and from inside the vascular bundle of the leaf it then goes to different cell types of the leaves, right? For this video we're only focusing on this part, which is that the water has already reached the xylem vessel found inside the leaf, and now it's actually going to go to the other parts and other cells of the leaves. We're not going to be discussing how water moves through xylem vessel in the stem, or from all the way from the root to the stem, or how the water even enters the roots, as for now. Now to quickly revise or recall what transpiration was, it was basically that most of the cells actually have a thin film of water around them. But the cells in the leaf are special in the sense that they're not just surrounded by cells next to each other, they're also surrounded by air spaces between these cells. So when there's a thin film of water around these cells and there's an air space around it, the water potential of this film of water is obviously going to be higher, and the water potential of this airspace is going to be much smaller or less, because it is a dry medium, right? So that means if it's dry, that means it has less water molecules, that means it has less water potential. And since this is a film of water, it's obviously rich with water molecules, and so it will have a higher water potential. The water therefore starts evaporating from this film of water and starts collecting in these air spaces as water vapor. Now during the times when photosynthesis is not occurring inside the leaf, the guard cells don't change their shape in a way that will actually cause the stomata to open, which means that the stomata are closed when the cell is not actively photosynthesizing or the plant is not actively photosynthesizing. So as long as the stomata is closed and water vapor continues to evaporate from this thin film of water and continues to collect in this airspace, this airspace actually starts to saturate with water vapor as long as that is happening, right? And so now let's say the plant needs to photosynthesize, and when the plant needs to photosynthesize, the guard cells will change their shape in such a way that they will actually end up opening the stomata. And as soon as the stomata opens, the air spaces inside would come into direct contact with the air outside in the environment. When that happens, the air outside is actually a much drier medium, which means that it has lower number of water molecules, which implies that it actually has a lower water potential. But the airspace inside was actually saturated with water vapor, which means that it had a high number of water molecules, which obviously implies that the water potential inside the leaf was actually much higher than the water potential outside the leaf. Which is why when the stomata are open, there is a tendency of water molecules to move down their water potential gradient from a region of higher water potential to a region of lower water potential. And this movement of water vapor down their water potential gradient through the aerial parts of the leaf, in this case the stomata, was actually termed as transpiration. And now that we recall what transpiration is, let us now see how does that transpiration actually become the driving force that pulls water out from the xylem vessel into the cells of the leaf, which includes the epidermal cells, the mesophyll cells, both palisade and spongy, and your guard cells. All of these cells get water through the xylem vessel. And now let's see how transpiration is actually helping the leaf achieve that. So we saw that during transpiration, water moves from a region of higher water potential inside the air spaces to a region of lower water potential outside in the air environment that it is present in. But as soon as the water leaves these air spaces, what really happens is that these air spaces and the leaf in general now has a lower water potential than it initially did. Now, in contrast to the cells of the leaves, the xylem in the vascular bundle inside the leaf is actually constantly getting its water supply from the roots. So, xylem is constantly having an increase in the amount of water basically, which is constantly increasing its water potential. But I just pointed out that the cells in the leaves are actually losing its water, which is actually decreasing its water potential. And so, doesn't that actually create a water potential gradient between the xylem vessel inside the leaf and the cells of the leaves, which are actually right next to the xylem vessel in the leaf?
Quick pause. If you're finding value in this explanation, there's so much more to discover at Alt Academy, where we break down every A-level concept with the same clarity. Now back to the video lesson.
And so if you haven't guessed it already, the water would obviously move down passively from a region of higher water potential inside the xylem to a region of lower water potential, which is going to be the cells of the leaves, through the pits that are actually found in the xylem vessel. So once the water leaves the pits of the xylem, it enters the intercellular space of the cell, from where it will obviously enter inside the cell. Now it can do so either through just its cell wall, or it can actually enter via osmosis and cross the cell membrane and then enter the cytoplasm and so forth. Now something you must note at this point is that as soon as the cell right next to the xylem vessel will gain water, it will actually increase its water potential, whereas the cell right after this cell will still have a lower water potential. So now a water potential gradient will exist between these two cells, the cell closer to the xylem vessel and the cell further to the xylem vessel. And therefore the water will move again down the water potential gradient from the cell that was actually at a higher water potential right next to xylem to the cell that was at a lower water potential that was further away from xylem. Similarly, this will continue to happen along as long as it actually reaches the last cell in a way, because the cell that would be further from the cell of the xylem would actually be at a lower water potential, and the cell closer to the xylem vessel will be at a higher water potential, which is why the water will constantly move from those cells to these cells. Now there are two routes which the water can take to pass from the xylem vessel all the way to the last cell that is actually going to be found in that route. So it can either go directly from cell wall to cell wall and not ever enter the cell cytoplasm, never cross the membrane of the cell, so never even enter the cell via osmosis. As soon as it basically leaves the xylem pit, it enters the intercellular space and then enters the cell wall of the cell. And then from the cell wall of one cell, it enters the cell wall of the next cell, and so on and so forth. Such type of movement of water is actually called the apoplast movement, or this route taken by the water molecule is actually called the apoplast pathway. The second route the water molecule takes when it leaves the xylem vessel is to actually leave the pit of the xylem vessel, enter the intercellular space between the xylem and the cell, and then enter the cell right next to xylem via osmosis. So it then crosses the cell membrane. Sometimes it then moves into the vacuole, sometimes it doesn't, but then basically moves through the cytoplasm. And then if you recall that the cells had plasmodesmata, so moving from one cell to the next via plasmodesmata, and in this route the water is not bypassing the cell, it's actually going through the cell, and this route is actually called the symplast pathway. So the water, once it leaves the xylem vessel, can either opt the apoplast pathway or the symplast pathway to carry water forward onto the next cell from the xylem vessel. Obviously, that continues to happen down the water potential gradient from a region of higher water potential to a region of lower water potential. Now, this movement of water continues to happen because of the fact that the water leaving the xylem vessel is still bonded to the water which is still present inside the xylem vessel. So as the water molecule moves from one cell, it pulls the water up the xylem to the top, and as the water which is now present in the cell moves forward to the next cell, it pulls onto the water that it was bonded to inside the xylem vessel and then pulls it out of the xylem vessel into the cell that was right next to xylem. And then similarly, that water molecule will now be bonded to another water molecule which is going to be present inside the xylem vessel. This property of water molecule of sticking or bonding with each other is actually called cohesion, and that is responsible for a continuous flow of water from xylem to the cells or through the cells of the leaves without any breaks between the water stream. I'd also like to highlight that I've been constantly mentioning how water is moving from a region of higher water potential to a region of lower water potential. The leaf is a region of lower water potential because of the fact that transpiration is occurring. However, as soon as the transpiration stops, the water potential inside the leaf will actually start increasing because it will stop losing water outside, and there will come a point where the water potential inside the leaf will actually be equal to the water potential of water inside the xylem. When that happens, the water stops moving. However, that theoretically speaking happens, but once speaking practically, that never really truly happens because transpiration is a process that never truly ever stops inside a plant, and there's at least some water losses that are occurring through transpiration. So when that is happening, the cells in the leaf will always be at a lower water potential, and the xylem will always have a higher water potential, and the cells that are closer to xylem will have a higher water potential, and the cells that are further away from xylem will have a lower water potential because they're losing their water to transpiration. So this water potential gradient is constantly maintained, and therefore this movement of water remains to be a continuous process. So now, after learning all of that, we can actually conclude that movement of water from xylem to the cell of the leaves actually continues to happen because of transpiration, and this happens to be a passive process which happens down the water potential gradient from a region of higher water potential gradient inside the xylem vessel found in the vascular bundle inside leaves to a lower water potential inside the cells of the leaves. Now, after learning all of that, a question should arise that if the xylem continuously keeps giving its water to the cells of the leaves, where does xylem continuously get its supply of water? And I think we've already discussed that partly in this video, that it does get water from the roots. But the question is that as soon as xylem loses its water, shouldn't there be a small break between xylem losing water and actually gaining water? And that if there is that break between xylem losing water and gaining water, wouldn't that create an airlock or an air bubble inside the xylem vessel? And if that would happen, how would xylem actually ensure that the flow of water remains continuous inside it? These are actually questions that will be answered in the next video. But for it, you'll actually have to remember the lessons you've learned from this video. The transpiration occurs via the stomata of the leaves that lowers the water potential inside the cell, and there's a higher water potential compared to the cells of the leaves inside the xylem vessel. So water moves from the xylem to the leaves. And with that point in mind, we can safely end this video.
Hey there! If you found this A-level biology lesson helpful, why don't you head over to altacademy.org and sign up for our full A-level biology course. In addition to biology, you could sign up for physics, chemistry, math, or 4 other A-level subjects. Thousands of students have already taken the leap. What are you waiting for? See you there.